Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a health claim you've probably seen everywhere. Can coconut oil actually help fight Alzheimer's disease? So, let's just get right to it. This is the big question. It's a really powerful idea, right? A simple, natural food that could help with such a devastating disease. But is there any real science behind it? And, this idea has absolutely exploded. You see it online, you hear about it from friends, and it makes sense because people are looking for hope, for answers. But our job here is to cut through all that noise and get straight to the actual research. Okay, so first things first. To even understand why coconut oil is part of this conversation, we have to look at what's going wrong inside the brain during Alzheimer's disease.
Think of it like this. Your brain's main fuel source is glucose, sugar. But in Alzheimer's, the brain cells start having a really hard time using that fuel. It's like the power lines are cut, and this creates a massive energy crisis in the brain. It's essentially starving.
And this is where things get really interesting. There's this beautiful scientific theory that asks a simple question. If the main power grid is down, could we maybe flip a switch and turn on the brain's backup generators?
Well, meet those backup generators. They're called ketone bodies. And the cool thing is, our bodies can make them from certain kinds of fats, specifically the ones called medium-chain triglycerides, or MCTs, which are packed into coconut oil. The whole idea is that these ketones could swoop in and give the brain an entirely different fuel source, completely bypassing that broken glucose system.
So the proposed plan is super straightforward. Step 1, you consume coconut oil. Step 2, your liver gets to work and turns those MCTs into ketones. Step 3, those ketones travel right up to the brain and boom, the energy-starved cells finally get the fuel they've been missing. On paper, it's a slam dunk. It sounds perfect. So the theory makes a ton of sense. But does it actually hold up when you test it on real people? Let's dive into the clinical trials and see what happened.
And this is where the simple, clear story starts to get messy. We've got two key human trials, and they tell two completely different stories. First, a small study from Spain in 2018 found that, coconut oil diet actually improved cognitive function in just 3 weeks. But then a bigger, longer study from Sri Lanka in 2023 found, basically nothing. No overall improvement compared to a different oil.
But hold on. Just when you think that's the end of it, it turns out there was something fascinating hidden inside that Sri Lankan study's data. If you dig a little deeper, you find a really surprising exception. It didn't work the same for everyone. And here it is. It turns out, for a specific group of patients, people who carry a gene called APOE4, which is a major risk factor for Alzheimer's, the coconut oil did work. They saw a real, statistically significant jump in their cognitive scores. It seems like for these folks, the coconut oil was doing something completely different than for everybody else.
So, what gives? How can one study say yes and another say no, except for this one group? It's time to figure out why all of this evidence is so contradictory and, frankly, a little confusing.
Well, the bottom line is you're not really comparing apples to apples here. The studies were just different. We're talking small numbers of people, different study lengths, different amounts of coconut oil being used. Some studies weren't even properly blinded, which means people might have known what they were getting. And then, of course, you have that massive wild card, our genetics.
Now, just when you think you're starting to get a handle on it, the story takes another sharp turn. Because when we look at studies done in animals, a whole new concern pops up.
Yeah, check this out. A study from 2020 found something pretty shocking. When they fed rats a diet with a lot of coconut oil, they actually found damage in the hippocampus, and that's the part of the brain that's absolutely essential for memory. So it raises this huge red flag. Could too much of this stuff actually be a bad thing?
So what could be going on? Well, the theory is that it's related to a brain chemical called glutamate. You need it for your brain cells to communicate and fire, but too much of it can be toxic. And the worry is that flooding the brain with massive amounts of ketones might cause this toxic buildup. It's a classic case of where too much of a good thing might actually become harmful.
Okay, so we've got a great theory, we have some conflicting human results, and we've got some pretty worrying animal data. So where does that leave us? What's the scientific consensus on all this right now?
Well, a major review from 2023 pretty much sums it all up. The scientists are saying, look, we need better studies. We need bigger, longer, more controlled trials to figure out if this stuff actually works, who it might work for, how much they should take, and if it's really safe in the long run. The bottom line is, we just don't know for sure yet.
Ultimately, it's not a simple yes or no. We've got this really elegant theory and some genuinely exciting little glimmers of hope, especially for people with that specific APOE epsilon 4 gene. But we also have these major inconsistencies and potential risks that we absolutely can't ignore. It kind of reminds us that when it comes to brain health, there are rarely any simple miracle cures. And maybe the real story here isn't just about coconut oil, but about a future where treatments are tailored to our own unique DNA. For now, the search for answers continues.